Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is I Rant 2 with Xavian D. Lewis, a podcast where we dive into real life issues, where we share inspiring stories, and where we talk about life, culture, and everything in between. I'm your host, Xavian D. Lewis, and whether you're tuning in at your commute, you're at your job, you're at work, you're at your home by yourself with somebody else, look, I just thank you for tuning in. In each episode, we're going to dive into some personal growth topics. We're going to dive into some cultural topics. We're going to dive into these things, and we're going to have a little fun with it too. And this season, we also have a few expert guests to talk about their experiences and to provide their unique background on things. Look, if you're watching on your favorite podcast platform, don't forget to go ahead and give me that like in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and click the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so that you know when we're dropping new content. And of course, make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at I Rant 2 with Xavian D. Lewis. Look, let's go ahead and get right into today's episode. And don't ever forget this. They rant, you rant, but I rant too. What's going on? It's episode 2 of I Rant 2 with your boy, Xavian D. Lewis. And if you listen to the intro, you already know what this is about, right? We're here to encourage. We're here to inspire. We're here to laugh a little bit. We're here to do all of these things together right here for the next, 30 to 45 minutes. Maybe not 45. There's a lot of you don't want to hear me talk for that long. That's a lot of time hearing me talk. But look, it's so glad that you're here with me on this Monday morning. Look, I want you to do something for me right quick. Stop what you're doing. If you're watching via YouTube, you're looking at me right now. I got on this Our HBCU Matters sweatshirt. I got on a Pepsi hat. Go ahead and click that subscribe button for me. Hit the like. Hit the bell for notifications when we're dropping new episodes every week. If you're just listening to the audio version of this, whether you're watching on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, any other podcasting platform, I want you to go ahead and press that follow button, like the episode, share this with somebody, let them know that, hey, I'm ranting, you ranting, we all ranting too, because that's just what we do over here at I Rant 2 with Xavian D. Lewis. And, here we are with what some might deem to be the most wonderful time of the year, right? It's the absolute most wonderful time of the year. I don't even have this in my notes, but I just got to go on this right quick. I am simply in love with the Christmas holiday feel. So I'm praying that over your life today that you are having a great holiday season. I know it's going to be different for some. You're experiencing loss or you're experiencing some differences from losses before. But hey, I just pray that that warm spirit just overtakes you and you find something to be grateful for this year. You find something to have joy with and have some kind of sense of jolliness, right? We already talked about it in episode 1. But it is much better to be optimistic about a thing than it is to be pessimistic about it, all right? So don't allow that spirit of heaviness to overtake you. I mean, I try not to get too churchy here, but my Bible says he's giving me a garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, right? He's giving me something that I can overcome that spirit of heaviness with, right? So it's all up to you if you want to take that option today. I mean, I didn't mean to get on here and start preaching the sermon, but, it's up to you if you want to take that lightness away from you. Well, if you want to take that heaviness away from you, right? But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and hop into today's episode, right? The title of this episode is going to be How to Get to the Table. And I'm sitting here at a desk, right? Or I have a slightly, average size kitchen table right over here to my right. But when we look at the word the table, or we look at what might seem to be, how do I get to these places in life? How do I get to a successful place? How do I get to the table? Because I've been told my whole life that, the people who have a seat at the table are the people who call the shots. The people who have a seat at the table are the ones who are affecting decisions. The people who have a seat at the table are the ones who's making the big money. The people who have a seat at the table are the ones that is not necessarily having to serve the people at the table because they are at the table, right? And I wanted to start this off. What actually is the table? Because for some people, it looks a little different, right? What is that place where you feel like you're in control? Because that's truly what the table is in essence, right? Even if we wanted to go back some time and look at it from a sense of servitude or some sort of that the people who were sitting at the table waiting to be served were the people who were in power, were the people that were calling the shots. They were those people, right? The people serving them were the people who just had to do what they had to do. They were taking orders instead of giving them. So what actually is this table in your life, right? What is that? That's the first question I want to pose to you. What is that place in your life where you're like, okay, I've made it to a point where I feel like I'm calling the decisions? What is that point where it feels like you're calling the shots in your life? And I'm going somewhere with this, right? Because oftentimes, a lot of times what we do, especially if you're climbing the corporate ladder, or sometimes even relationally, right? You always feel like you're getting the end of the stick, or you're getting the back end of what's going on around you. You feel like that you just cannot get to this metaphorical table. You feel like you're always serving the table. You feel like you're always the second one in, or sometimes you feel like you're the dog getting the scraps of the people eating at the table, right? You just don't ever feel like you're in that place or in that position where you're the one sitting at the table, calling the shots, making the decisions, in control, right? Because that's truly what the table is. Out of everything else, whether it's you not calling the shots or making decisions or whatever like that, it makes you feel in control. It brings some sense of stability to your life. It brings some sense of peace to your life when you know that you're the one sitting at the table. Am I right? You got to agree with me here, because I know oftentimes it looks, oh, wow, my MacBook about to fall off. Ain't that crazy, y'all? But oftentimes it really, really looks as if unless I'm sitting at the table, I'm not happy. I mean, I know that hopefully I have some people watching that's like that for real. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm working this job. I'm working 2 or 3 jobs, working these 9 to 5 jobs, and I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. And it doesn't feel like I'm in any sort of control in my life. Why does it feel that way? Why does it feel like I can't get ahead? Why does it feel like I'm not the one calling the shots? It feels like everybody else is calling the shots for me, and it's all just happening to me. Why does it feel like that? Why does it feel like I just cannot get ahead? Why does it feel like that? So the question is, how do we get to the table? How do we get to this place where I feel in control? How do I get to a place? Because not everybody is always concerned about making decisions. Some people just don't want that pressure. But how do I just get to a place where I feel at peace? That might be your table. Well, how do I get to a place where I'm financially stable? I mean, I hope that would be everybody stable in some sense of the fashion. But yeah, how do I get to these places in my mind, in my physical, in my outward world where I'm sitting at this table? And I want to say this right quick, because I just brought it up recently just a few minutes ago, or just not even a few minutes, probably just a couple seconds ago, about this, mindset of, because, okay, let me say it like this. The people who are at the table are at that table, and everything at their table encompasses their table. And I'm going somewhere with this. Listen to this. And this is more so of my cultural rant for the day. A hustle mindset only benefits your bank account, not you. And I know that's going to ruffle some feathers. Because, this whole mentality, oh, I'm a hustler. I'm doing whatever I got to do to get it. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And every time somebody asks you something, it's like, oh, I'm just going along with whatever is next. I'm just riding the next wave. I'm a hustler. And I know that sounds good in essence, this whole idea that, oh, I got to hustle in order to make it. That's true. Some people really do have to hustle in order to make it, because if they don't hustle, then they don't survive. But hustling only benefits your bank account. It doesn't benefit you. Do you know the quickest way to experience burnout in your life is when you do things that are not your purpose? Because if it's your purpose, then you'll just like automatically replenish yourself, because it's your purpose. It's something that you do naturally. You don't have to, honestly, when you're dealing with your purpose, you don't even have to wait for somebody to come and pour into you. For some odd reason, you'll start to replenish yourself because it's your purpose. But you'll start to experience burnout when it's something that's not what you're destined to do. It's not your purpose. It's not your plan in life. So that that person that's out there working 5 jobs saying they're trying to make end meet, when actuality, you're really just trying to make, you're trying to make your social end meets. You're trying to, you go, all right, let's not talk about it, but if we're going to go there, let's go there. One thing that I'm so concerned with in my generation and just seeing the common culture of modern day times is this ability to want to appear to be something you're not. I'm just not getting it. I'm not understanding it. I'm just baffled at this whole mindset where I'm doing all of these wayward things, burning myself out just so I can upkeep an image for a social media page where I may have a couple 100,000 or 1,000 followers or whatever like that, getting these likes and getting all this stuff together. I understand the brand deals, and I understand, like you're saying, you're a content creator, influencer, or whatever like that, but it's never worth your mind. It's never worth your God-given abilities for you to have this hustler mindset just so you can keep up with the Joneses. I mean, that's what they said back in the day, keeping up with the Joneses. But now you're trying to keep up with 75 other different people that's portraying the same thing, when in actuality, not a single one of them are happy in their mind. They're not happy in their heart. Could it be that we're dealing with a bunch of mental illness in this common era, because everyone is dealing with burnout because they're doing things that's not their purpose, all because they want to portray this image, portray this I don't even know what else to call it. Yeah, they're just trying to portray an image that they're not. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have aspirations. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that you shouldn't desire or want the finer things in life. But when it comes to the point where it's at the cost of your sanity, it's at the cost of your health, it's at the cost of your mental stability, come on, my guy. Come on, baby. I'm sorry, y'all. I've been down here in New Orleans for too long. It just isn't making sense at all. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of it at all. I hate to see... I'm 22, right? I hate to see other 22-year-olds or people in this same age range attempting to live up to a life that other people have deemed normal. And if you go back and listen to another episode in season 1, I can't remember exactly what episode. If you just go watch all of them, you'll figure it out somewhere in there. One thing that I despise is the word normal. Because to say that anyone is normal or to deem something as normal takes away credibility from the individuality that we all have. If everybody were to be created the same way God would have done it, and that would have been the norm, that would have been normal. But to say that, oh, I just want to be normal, oh, I just want to be like everyone else, you are robbing yourself of the individuality that you have in yourself. So don't ever strive to be normal. Don't ever strive to inherently want to do what everyone else is doing. It'll never, I mean, don't get me wrong, it can work. And I think this is what gets us, right? Because we see it and it works. We see it and it worked for other people. We see it and it works. So it's like, well, if it worked for them, why can't it work for me? Because honestly, and this is just going to be the big thing here, oftentimes success is not, people always say like, oh, if I'm successful in it, it must be meant that if I'm successful in it, then I must be meant to do it. Not necessarily. I'm a very multi-talented and gifted person. A lot of things that I'm gifted to do, I'm not passionate for. All righty. All right. I could talk about something, but I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to, all right, incriminate myself. But there are a lot of things that I'm gifted to do that if I just decided to go out and do it all willy-nilly, it'd be a whole different story. I'd be sitting here running a whole different kind of podcast. I'm going to just let you know that now. There are a lot of things that I'm talented and skilled and all that kind of things to do, but because it's not my passion, I don't delve in it. So I say that to say this. just because I'm successful in something, just because I have good results from something, just because I'm seeing the fruit and the fruition of me doing this, or you might say, oh, I went viral for doing this, so it must be what I'm meant to do. Not necessarily, because just to base your success off of people's cravings, come on, man. We see it right now with TikTok. You could be, it's so crazy. And I think before TikTok, you just never saw it like this. A person could be viral on TikTok or a video or a sound or a dance or something like that. And millions of people could have seen it. And you could walk up to a person and be like, oh, do you know about this? And they're like, I have no clue. Because the bubbles are so, and I talk about this in my other podcast. Go check it out. It's called Why and Z the Divide, and I do that with Jay Clark. And we talk about all the time how there are just different bubbles, and people just exist in their own bubbles now. So you've went viral with millions of people in that bubble, and then somebody else has went viral with millions of people in that bubble. How back in the day, well, I ain't gonna say back in the day because I feel like, I'm 22. I just told you that. But at least 10 years ago, when something went viral, it felt like everybody knew about that viral moment or something like that. At least a great bit of people knew about it. But, I say all that to say this, and I keep saying that because I keep trying to reel myself in because, this is I rant too. So I rant. But I say all that to say this, just because I'm successful at something does not mean that I'm meant to do it forever. Okay? So don't let your metric of success be just from people's applause of you or people's, all of those things, because I promise you, if you're just listening to people's opinions and you're just listening to people's validation, then you'll find yourself oftentimes chasing the people's desires instead of trying to chase your own desires. And then, if I'm being really honest, sometimes you got to keep your own desires in check, right? Because sometimes you'll start desiring something that's not really meant for you. That's another episode for another day. But you'll start desiring things. If you don't watch out, you'll start desiring things that aren't even meant for you, because there's some things inside of you. I know everybody wants to be the innocent hero. You want to be the damsel in distress, but there are things inside of you that are villainous. There are things inside of you that could be inherently evil, that desires certain things from life. I oftentimes have to keep myself in check. When I start thinking about what I want and what I desire and what I'm chasing after and what my goals are, I have to kind of filter my goals and filter my desires and filter my imaginations, filter my mindset through God. Because I want to make sure that everything that I think I want is what he wants for me too, right? So I didn't mean to go all the way there. I am so sorry. Back to this hustler mindset. The only person it benefits is your bank account. It does not inherently benefit you. And I want you to really, really understand that. I think no one is saying that you can't have different lanes at doing stuff. Some of the best advice I've ever received in my life, I'm sitting at an event. I can't even remember what it is, but I'm having this conversation with one of the greatest principals I've ever had in my life, a great mentor, Xandra McDonald Green. What's going on, Ms. Mac? I love you so much. I said to her, I was like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to do that. And she was like, who told you that you had to pick just one? When she said that, it was so simple, but when I say it had me in a shock, because I was in my head like, you know what, she's right. I don't have to pick just one. But listen to me. A dangerous thing to do is to do multiple things and be mediocre at all of them. All right, if we're going to go there, let's go there. A hustler mindset oftentimes finds you doing multiple things and being mediocre at multiple things. You're not a master of any of them. What did it say? A jack of all trades, but master of none. You're not mastering each one of those things because you're not taking the time to develop it. You're not taking the time to grow in it. You're not taking the time to become mature in it. So here you are starting one thing, and before you've truly matured in this thing, you've started another thing. And before you've truly matured in this thing, you've started another thing. And before you've truly matured in that thing, you've started another thing. And then when people come to you about that first thing, it's almost like you have to retrain yourself. Reteach yourself, right? And I'm not saying this from a sense of like I'm judging you, because I know I've done it myself. There are some things in my life right now I'm like, I moved too quick. I moved too quick away from it. I moved too quickly. I did not allow myself the time to mature in it, so that way I could become a master of it. So that way, when success came for that avenue, when success came for that stream, I knew how to handle it properly. Because what happens when success comes and you don't know how to handle it? Oh, I'm talking real good right now, because if we talk about how to get to the table, these are all steps to get to the table. Because if I can get to that, if I'm trying to get to that point where I'm the decision maker, where I'm the one calling the shots, where I'm the one sitting down and I'm the one having to handle all of this that's at my table, how do I get to it? I have to mature for it. I have to wait for it. I have to be patient for it. I have to allow myself the time to let this thing come to fruition. I have to be patient for it. How do I get to the table? Okay, I did not write this down, but one of the steps to get into the table is definitely you have to learn how to be patient. You have to learn how to be patient. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. You have to be patient. If you have not patience, then you'll find yourself starting and stopping, starting and quitting, starting and starting over again. You'll find yourself going through all of these loops. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing with starting and quitting or starting and stopping or starting and starting over again. All of those different kind of things. But we're not going to sit here and act like you won't miss out. There will be things that you will miss out on if you don't correctly steward the current season of life that you're in. If you don't correctly handle, if you don't correctly do all of these things that you've been designed to do, that you were like given to do, that you know inherently that you're supposed to be doing, but because you see this person on social media doing it this way, because you see them got this on, because you see them going to this event, because you see them taking that vacation, because you see them taking that vacation, because you see them doing this different thing and that different thing, you're trying to keep up with them. Nah, you'll miss out. Trying to keep up with everybody else, you'll miss out on what was truly meant for you. And I was talking about this, and I say it often. I seen Anthony O'Neill in his interview with Natalie Nicole, and she said something on that interview that has stuck with me since the first time I saw it. I think I watched it for the first time about 2 years ago. And she said that success for her was traumatic because she didn't know how to handle it. And I often go back to, I went viral at the age of 16. If you're watching this podcast, you should know that by now. I went viral at the age of 16 for singing Sam Cooke's A Change Is Gonna Come. And I'll forever tell anyone, I didn't know what to do with it. Here I am getting millions of views, going viral on this page, viral on that page. And I didn't know what to do with it. I was just like, oh, I'm going viral, yay. Going viral, yay. Did not know what to do with it. And not that I felt like it's a missed opportunity or a failed opportunity, but overall, that was just an opportunity that I stewarded wrong. And I'm some people are trying to give me grace in the situation, and they're like, oh, you were just 16, you were just 17, you weren't supposed to know what to do with it. I don't let age be that, right? I should have known what to do with the situation. I probably did know what to do with the situation, but because I was so caught up in the lights, I forgot to focus myself. So I'm saying this out of a place of love. Don't get caught up in the lights. Don't get caught up in the success. Like success, yes, it's amazing, but let's make sure we focus it in to what is truly important, and that's getting to the table. That's getting to the table. Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Xavian D. Lewis from Rant 2. I hope you're all doing great today. Before we dive back into our conversation, I want to take a quick moment to give a shout out to our episode Small Business Spotlight. You know, we're always talking about making positive changes and improving our lives here on this podcast. Well, our Small Business Spotlight today is all about helping you do just that. Z Finest Blessed Dove Creations LLC is offering party favors and other crafts for your convenience. Whether you're looking for keepsakes, personalized tumblers, or even phone cases, Z Finest Blessed Dove Creations LLC has got you covered. They're dedicated to providing great quality and long-lasting products. And here's the best part. They've got a special offer for our listeners. For a limited time, you can get a 5% discount by saying that you've been referred by Rant 2 with Xavian D. Lewis. Just visit Z Finest Blessed Dove Creations on Facebook to take advantage of this amazing deal. So if you're ready to find the best handcrafted and personalized crafts, head over to Z Finest Blessed Dove Creations on Facebook and say you've been referred from Rant 2 with Xavian D. Lewis today. Trust me, you won't want to miss out on this. All right, let's get back to our rant. Okay, watch this. Social media rant says, do you feel like the road to success has been made easier or harder as the years have progressed. This is something I asked my social media platform. And so they said, so once again, do you feel like the road to success has been made easier or harder as the years have progressed? Because the road to success is supposed to end with you getting to the table, right? That is the road to success. The road to success. The road to success goes to this metaphorical table that you want to get to where you feel like you've just made it, or, you know, you've got to that point, right? Had someone say it's become harder. It's become harder, right? And I can see an answer to that. We're going to keep going because it has some great elaborations in here. Somebody said harder only because the benefits get greater. Huge shout out to my boy who gave that answer. I got to elaborate on that a little bit. So once again, the question says, do you feel like the road to success has been made easier or harder as the years have progressed? He said harder only because the benefits get greater. And I think that's so interesting to talk about, right? That saying that, you know, many years ago that the road to success, or this, you know, getting to the table was a little bit easier because the bounty wasn't as large. But nowadays, it feels like there's so much to grab. There's so much on the line. There's so much for the taking, right? And I wish people in my generation especially would understand that there is so much for the taking. It's so much for us to grab. It's so much for us to have, so much for us to get. We just have to have the vigor and the mindset to get it, and not get it at any means necessary. Okay, I feel like, okay, here we go. Sidetracking again. Don't ever allow yourself to get to that, oh, by any means necessary, I'm going to get that money. No. I value my body because by the time I'm 50 or 55 or whatever, I want to have a good body to where I'm still able to play kickball with my grandchildren or whatever. Nah, I'm talking about, you know, I'm going to do it any means necessary. No. I value my mental. I have morals. I have things in my mind. I have boundaries. I have lines that I won't cross. What happens? What in the world will happen when we develop a society, when society has developed to a point where there are no longer lines where people won't cross? Scary, right? Scary. But yeah. Answer was harder only because the benefits get greater, and we have seen that the benefits are greater now. There is so much more to be obtained, and there are greater avenues to get to it, but it still takes those core fundamentals: patience, love, kindness, all of these things, humbleness. Let's talk about that in a minute. But yeah, all right. Someone said harder. Another one said, as a black woman, I would definitely pick the road of today compared to the past. And that's a very, very true subject statement right there. I feel like as minority individuals, black men, black women, colored individuals, it is a little bit, I will say, picking the road of today. Now, why it still may be a hard road, it's now a more inclusive road. Before, you know, it was just very, very interesting. Someone said harder depending on what you defined as success. That's very interesting too. And we kind of talked about it before. What is that metric? What is your metric? You know, we're talking about the table. What's at the table that you desire to be at, to be able to have that patience and that, you know, well, not that patience, where you desire to have that sense of peace, right? What does that table look like? Someone said the road to success is both. It's easier and harder. And I really, really love that answer. And I'm going to tell you why, because this is exactly so. Of course, I pose the questions, but I often have to find myself answering the question before I pose the question, right? And so I love that answer to that question saying both, because I think we have to all remember that the road to success is not a straight road. Be honest. There are days. I mean, and it could be within one day. One day I could start off high. Something happens in 1 minute, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 15, 10 seconds, and it could dip my whole day. And then I have to climb back up because I can't allow myself to stay in that valley. And sometimes God will have to send somebody. Something just happened at work on the past couple of days, and something happened. I came into work that morning, had a great morning. I was able to do something great for my morning crew team, and I was so happy to do it because it was my first time doing it. I was like, it just felt good for me to be able to do something for them. That same day, I experienced something that had me stressed out, whirlwind of emotions, and I'm just about to lose it. I'm sitting at the desk about to cry. One of my coworkers come up to me. She said, "It's all right." She said, and I said, "Well, no, it's not all right. I just don't understand how I did that. I don't understand how I allowed myself to get in that situation." And she said, "Oh, okay then, because you're perfect and you do everything correctly. So if you want to hold yourself to that, go right ahead. But if you want to give yourself grace, the grace is there for you to give it to yourself." And at that moment, I had to snap out of what I was going through. And I had to allow grace to pull me back up out of that pit. Because like I said, I started my day up here, boop, slipped down. Because of that, had to allow grace to pick me back up. So it's both. It's easy and a hard road, right? The road to success is easy and hard. Someone said it's easier. It's been made easier. And I think that's a very interesting answer as well. Just kind of reflecting on, what people decide to be. Like we said before, depending on what you define as success, depending on where you come from, there are so many different factors that can come into the road to success, such as, your background, your familial background, your economic background, your socioeconomic background, all those kind of things. Someone says, it's in the middle. It's like you are on the road, but it extends as you move your feet. All right. We're going to talk about this real quick because it's good to me. She says at the end of this, it's like you are on the road to success, but it extends as you move your feet. And this is the mindset that so we've been talking this whole episode about how to get to the table. How do I get to the table? How do I get to this place where everything is prepared for me? How do I get to this moment in time? How do I get to this place? How do I get to that level of peace? How do I get to that level of financial stability? How do I get there? And if we're going off this statement, it almost seems like we never will, because the road keeps extending the more you move your feet. So if that is true, the only way we get to the table is when we stop moving our feet. The only way my feet gonna stop moving is if I'm dead. So I took you on a whole whirlwind, this whole conversation, because I wanted to get you to this point right here. Cue the music right here. It's your boy, Xavian D. Lewis, and this is your inspiration. Whoa, I don't know what I just attempted to say. We're going to do that again. Cut the music. Hold on, one more time. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Cue the music. It's your boy, Xavian D. Lewis, and this is your inspirational rant for today. We've been talking about how to get to the table. We've been talking about success, the path to success. We've been talking about all of these different things, about a hustle mindset. But I wanted to encourage you today that the table that you're seeking, it's already been made, okay? I know a lot of people are stressed. This is a different time of year. You're stressed out about how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? How I'm still just trying to make ends meet. What am I going to have to do to make such and such a person happy? What am I going to do to get my kids what they deserve? What am I going to do in these situations? The table is already made for you. I need you to stop worrying. I need you to stop stressing. I need you to most definitely stop complaining. The table is already made. In an episode where we're talking about how do we get to said metaphorical table, in the road to success, we'll often find ourselves feeling like we're trying to get to this one monumental moment, and that's it. But if we are truly what we were designed to do, the road to success never ends, because just like she said, the road to success keeps extending the more you move your feet. So if that is to be true, I then have to carry my table with me everywhere I go. I'm not trying to get to the table. I already have the table within me, because the table has already been made. The peace that I'm desiring to have, I already have it. This mindset that when I get to the table, I'll finally be able to make my own calls. That table is already in you, because I can control what is already in my purview. What is already in my pockets, I can control. What's already in my hand, let me control it. And I mean, this is not the inspirational rant, but I'll say it right here. If you truly desire control, relinquish it. Okay, I know that may seem off. I know that may seem a little crazy, but I swear to you, if you are a God-fearing believer, you're a baptized believer, you believe in Jesus Christ, you know better than I do that if you truly desire control in your life, give it to God. It's so interesting, right? God gives us something just to require it from us. Okay, here we go. God gives Abraham a son. He gives him a son by the name of Isaac. And Isaac is the promise, right? He had Ishmael, but Ishmael wasn't the promise. Ishmael had an inheritance, but Ishmael didn't have the promise. Here comes Isaac. Isaac is the promised child. Abraham and Isaac are growing up. Isaac is a young boy. God says to Abraham, I require of you to sacrifice the promise that I gave you. What happens? And I think we read the Bible and we don't allow ourselves to know that these were real events. What happens when the exact thing that you prayed to God for, He requires it of you? Jesus, I'm not going to crown this podcast. What happens when the exact thing that you have been working hard for, you've been saving your money for, what happens when He requires that of you? So Abraham, he goes and he offers it up to the Lord. And it's crazy because if you read your word, he says that Abraham tells the herdsman, he said, stay down here with the asses, for me and my son are going to go worship. So Abraham and Isaac get up to the place that they're normally sacrificing. Isaac asks the question, says, Dad, we're here. The materials we need here to make the sacrifice are here, but where is the sacrifice? Abraham proceeds to put Isaac on the table. And you know the way sacrifices work, you have to strap him down, all that kind of stuff. And as Isaac is getting ready to obey what God said, to offer back up to God what He had just promised and gave him, there is a ram in the bush, right? And God honors His ability to give up what God had just given him. So, the table is already made. This is your life. Allow yourself to know that the road to success doesn't end in just one monumental moment, but it extends the more you move your feet. The more you allow your faith to grow, let it grow. Let your table get wider. The more you allow your hope, your faith goals, your visions, your plans, let them grow. Let them grow. Let them grow. Yeah, let them grow. Let them grow. So that way, the more you keep going in life, the more your road to success extends. And this is one last thing, and I'll leave it at this. Because the table that you have metaphorically in your mind, the table that you have to have on the inside of you, is not just for you to sit at. All right, if we go on the Psalms, here we go. This is my last point. And I told y'all this is in no way like a Christian podcast. I just so happen to be a Christian who does a podcast. Amen. The Bible says that He prepareth a table before me in the presence of my enemies, meaning that I'm not the only one that's going to sit at that table. Number one, not only are my friends going to have to sit at that table. Number two, but also my enemies are going to have to be at that same table as well. Right? And the table, metaphorically, is my life. He's prepared a life before me in the presence of my enemies. He's prepared this path before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast prepared a table before me in the presence of my enemies. So, in an episode talking about how we get to the table, how do I get to that place of success? How do I get to that place where I feel like I've made it? How do I get there? You get there with patience. You get there with kindness, meekness, gentleness, humbleness. You get there with those things. But more importantly, it's not just one solid moment. If anything, it's something that you carry in your heart as you travel along this way, right? Just as in the Old Testament, the prayer was, visit us. But in the New Testament, the prayer became, inhabit us. Come take up home within us. The thing you're trying to get to, place it on the inside of you so that it can manifest on the outside. All right, cut the music. Whoa, I don't know. I'm sorry. I really started ranting real bad right there. Lord Jesus, almost about 40 minutes. But look, thank y'all so much for listening to today's episode. I will see you next Monday. We're going to have to do it a little bit different next week, different setup, because I will be out of town. But I'm going to still be rocking and rolling right here with y'all. I love y'all so much. The outro coming right here. Y'all have a great rest of your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever day it is that you're listening to this. Have a great day. Love you. And you're already going to hear it in the outro. Don't ever stop ranting, because they rant, you rant, but I rant too. Enjoy the rest of your day, y'all. That's a wrap, folks, for I Rant Too with Xavian D. Lewis. Look, I hope you were able to find some insights and inspiration in what we discussed on today. Look, once again, if you're watching on your favorite podcast platform, if you like what you heard, go ahead and click that like button and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you can keep up with all of our latest content. Look, I want to hear your voice. Leave a comment. Reach out to us on our social media platforms on Instagram and Facebook at I Rant Too with Xavian D. Lewis. Look, always remember, get an inspiration, stay strong, stay vigilant, and don't ever forget this: keep ranting too. Y'all have an amazing day. Love y'all.